All right, hi Richard. Thanks again for sending those videos. So this part, I'll sort of just summarize part one, and then I'll give you some things to look at, some drills to do, and then we can move forward from there. So the first thing was setup. Obviously you look athletic, you look centered, you look balanced. The right foot slightly turned out, left foot slightly turned out. I'm ready, I'm athletic, and I can move. It's just like any other sport. If I'm walking into center to play quarterback, or I'm gonna take a shotgun snap, I'm centered, I'm balanced, I'm athletic, but I'm ready to move. So the same thing's happening in golf, same thing's happening in baseball. If I'm gonna field a grounder, or basketball, if I'm gonna play defense, that's what we're looking for. But it's not a static position, it's a still position, but we're ready. We're prepping our body for a really athletic movement. So good job with setup. Now, what I saw with the takeaway, the club got, and I'll use this, you can see these two sticks on the ground here, the yellow and the black, and then the golf ball here. We'll call this the ball line. And so what I saw was pretty good to here. Then the club gets a little bit in or behind you. And so why this is important is if the club gets behind me here or too far underneath my arms, what I've actually done is I've taken the club and I've put it over here. So now gravity's pulling it in this direction and it's out of balance. So what we want to have, and what you saw on Mac, was that the club was more in this configuration coming down. So slightly to the right of the center of his arms, but between his arms. So that's why when you see in the program when we're going like this, it's to create leverage, but to have the weight of the club head balanced between our arms. It'll be slightly to the right, but between our arms. The more the club gets over here on the backswing side of the arc, the more it's going to want to cause you, because gravity's pulling it in this direction, it's going to cause you to want to throw it or get it back in front of you. So the weight of the club is going from out of balance behind you to out of balance on the through swing. So now we got the club doing this in our golf swing. Where if you look at anything Nicholas ever wrote, he wanted the club in the address position throughout the golf swing. So wherever he checked his golf swing, in motion, it was always in the address position. So now let's talk about what the address position was to Jack. Well, the club wasn't vertical at setup, and the hands weren't directly between his arms. The hands were slightly forward. So this would be the address position right here. So a little bit of this right here, but the club's balanced between his arms. So Jack, when he demonstrates it, if I take it back to here, it's between my arms. If I take it up to here, it's between my arms. If I swing through to here, it's between my arms, and then up to the finish, the club is always sort of balanced. So we've got it a little bit underneath here and a little bit underneath, with the right side kind of collapsing with your right knee kicking in this way a little bit. So club's sort of behind you and you can't get your attack angle right. So I can see you hitting some thin shots out to the right. I can see you hitting some fat shots too, or just catching it kind of drop kicked almost. But really easy fix. So the first thing I'd like you to clean up, because we're going to change your body movement. So we kind of have to get your hand and arm movement right first, because knowing that we're going to change your body movement, it's going to move things around. So a simple way to do this is this line right here that the golf ball's on, the shaft of my club is going to trace this line, trace this line, trace this line. So tracing, 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 tracing to here till it gets parallel. Now the club will be slightly shut, maybe 10 degrees, but it's square on my arc. And then as I take it up to here, tracing, 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 tracing. Okay, I've got it in balance here. Where you have it trending a little under, and then your arms lift it on their own independently. We don't need the arms to do anything independently in the golf swing. That's where inconsistency comes from. We want the body to be the main engine of this golf swing. So a simple way to just, and this isn't technical, this is just clean up your takeaway. See if you can feel, this is going straight back on this yellow line. So this shaft is pointing at this yellow line, pointing. Okay, now it's parallel. Okay, now I've got it. Got it under control. Then from here, we'll talk about what's going to happen in your golf swing. So what I'd like to look at is, and this isn't something that you can fix mechanically. This is more, let's fix it athletically. So the upper thoracic spine is the mobile area of the spine, okay? So that's where if I'm gonna chop wood, my upper spine has some leverage in it. It has some mobility in it. If I'm gonna shoot a jumper, my upper spine has some mobility in it. So that joint is gonna be our friend in terms of creating leverage to the top of the backswing. So that being said, the majority of people store a lot of their stress, a lot of their knots, a lot of their tightness in their upper back and in their neck. And so what I'd like you to do is really focus on those stretches where we do things to open up the upper back. So a good one would be, take something and just kind of stretch out the shoulders, maybe move around with the upper spine. If you can take it all the way to here, great. But just opening up the shoulders, opening up the pecs from this direction, opening up the shoulders and the pecs, and then also doing the stretches that sort of, the cat-cow that we do, or anything that opens up the upper back, because that's going to help you when we get up here to create leverage. Also, I really like foam rollers. So I don't have one here with me, but you've probably seen them at the gym, a cylinder of foam that you can kind of roll your back out on. And anytime you get a massage, the upper back's going to be opened up a bit. But stretching for golf, we can't fake it. I mean, golf is as athletic as football, as any other sport in terms of the movement. So we need the upper back and the hips to be looked at as part of doing an athletic movement. So we need to mobilize them. So before you play, stretching the hips out. Obviously, you have the stretching routines to go through, but opening up the front hip flexor, the sides of the hips, the hamstrings, and the upper back are going to really help your golf swing. Without you trying to change anything mechanically, if those things start to open up over time, with 15 minutes a day, maybe 15 minutes twice a day, opening up your body, you're going to get to where these movements just become easier and easier with less thought. So that being said, what we're going to look at is to the top of the backswing. I'd like you to start to feel, if I was going to throw a punch, so if someone's on the ground right here, and for some reason I wanted to throw a punch and hit them down here, I want you to see how this movement feels to you. So I'm just going to draw my arm up to here. And notice here how my upper spine got wound up, my ribs got pulled up, my hips pivoted straight back in this direction. You'll even see, because my right rib's going back, it's okay for this left knee to come in because they're kind of connected. So if this goes back more, this is okay for this to come in more. I mean, think about the greats. They wound up so much that the left heel came off the ground. So we need to get your shoulders and upper back in a situation where you can create more leverage here so that this left shoulder is centered between my feet. Yours is a little bit here and a little bit hunched in the upper back. So it's kind of there at the left arm. We're going to get you to where this pivot happens more naturally, so you're here. That way you can attack it better. So this drill, sets of 10, drawing up a punch, drawing up a punch, drawing up a punch, drawing up a punch. So sets of 10, really feeling centered, really feeling, I'll do it down the line, really feeling wound up here, like this right hip gets higher than this left hip, because what you saw in the shoulders of Mac was it went this way before it leveled out. If I underturn and then this starts to lift immediately, look what happens. The whole right side of my body's collapsed. So now if I straighten my arms from back here, everything's going out this way, so I've got thin shots in play, or my bottom of arc's back here. So I'm gonna fat it too. And this is minimal. I can tell you're a good player, but there's, you know, an inch or two in golf is a big deal. So drawing up a punch, also opening up the body with some movements, and then the club on the shoulders, getting back to 90, back to center, wind up, back to center, wind up, back to center, wind up. All I would look at this as is an exercise to increase your range of motion, not a technical position that you need to be in, because those positions are going to be yours. I don't want to make it technical. I'd rather you just open your body up and look at it more like other sports like football, to where it's, you know, you just got to do your training to get things better. Okay, so now, because we're going to start opening your body up better, we've got to get the hands and arms in the right spot here, because what's going to happen is the body opening up better is going to get your hands and arms deeper. Because if I keep my arm right here, my left arm, and I pivot this straight back, it moves where my left hand is. So it moves it more to the inside. So the pivot is going to take my arm to left arm parallel, essentially. I don't want my arms doing anything on their own independent of my body movement, because then I've got timing issues and I need to hit a lot of balls. So we clean up the takeaway a little bit. Then from here, I want you to feel like, okay, the club's balanced. It's between my arms. It's a little right of dead center. It's a little right of that. But I'm using my body wind up to get the club up to here. And then it'll take it up to the top. So clean to here. Body winds it up the rest of the way. And that'll give you a better place to attack the ball from. So as you increase your range of motion to the top of the backswing, that's going to set you up, as Gary Player said, I'm underneath the golf club. That's going to set you up to move this left shoulder like you saw. It moves down before it levels out. Where yours is about right here and it starts moving up immediately, okay? So as a drill, what we're gonna do is you're opening up your body, you're foam rolling, you're focusing on your hips and your upper back. Then we're drawing this up, we're winding this up to get the body movement more efficient. We're cleaning up the takeaway. And I'd like you to hit a lot of golf shots to clean up your arm swing. I'd like you to hit a lot of balls kind of rib high to rib high. And all you're doing with this is rib high, feeling when you take it back to here, it's leveraged. It's not over here. It's in front of you. When you take it through to here, it's still right in front of you. So I want to work on your arm structure from rib high to rib high. If we strengthen up your arm structure through there, we won't have the club out of balance and doing this as much. That'll put the club more centered to your body. That'll also start to sequence things better, get the movement more efficient. Then when we add the extra body movements to your full swing, you're gonna have your arms there to support the movement. Because right now, with where your arms are, kind of in here and lifted, if we started to add extra body movement to that arm structure, it would actually make things a little bit more sloppy, because it would put things in a more inefficient spot. So in total summary, I know I'm kind of rambling now, but in total summary, we're opening up the body, we're cleaning up the takeaway, and then we're moving better. So winding up better, drawing up a punch better, and then I want you to hit half a bucket of balls. Whenever you go hit balls, spend about half the time rib high, and see how balanced can you feel? How together can you feel? And a way to check it is if I hit toward you, when you get to the finish, everything's together here, thighs are together, everything lines up, and the club is right between my arms. So I could spike it in the ground if I needed to. So here to here, club's right with me. It's right in between my arms. So spend some time working on this, then we'll build on it. So we're cleaning up the takeaway, opening up the body, and hitting some half shots to get the sequencing down. Great players hit shots like this. Rory hits shots like this. I mean, they all admit that working on their wedges helps their full swing because it cleans up the sequencing from here to here in the golf swing. So I hope this helps. I appreciate you reaching out. Thanks, Rich.